Joined by Michelle Bratcher-Goodwin. She is the Chancellor's Professor of Law at University of California, Irvine. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure to be on with you again.
Okay, so we are 2 months after the election. Voters in Georgia are still dealing with unfinished business there, which will actually determine the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. 2 seats from one state that will control the Senate and basically the president-elect's entire agenda. Has this ever happened before?
This is unprecedented, and it's unprecedented that it's from one state where the balance of power of the United States Senate is in the weight. If one of the Republicans, either Kelly Loeffler or Senator David Perdue wins, then that means that the Senate Republicans will control the Senate. And if they don't, it means that if the Democrats win, and with Kamala Harris as the vice president, she'd be able to break any ties in the Senate. So the balance of power, Democrats to Republicans, lays in the balance with this particular election.
So Perdue and Loeffler have both cast themselves as this last line of defense against Democratic control of Washington, but they also sided with President Trump and Democrats when it comes to the stimulus payment, and that was against the majority of Republicans. Will that help or hurt them in Georgia, do you think?
Well, what's clear is that there are some people, communities in Georgia that are hurting. Communities across the country are hurting given the pandemic. And so their interest in siding with the president for larger relief for people in their state makes a lot of sense for them, because this is what the majority of Americans want. Will that actually save them in this election, given that it appears, and these polls go back and forth, that Warnock has a lead over Kelly Loeffler, and that Ossoff has a slight lead in his race as well. It's also important to note that both of these incumbents are actually newer in the Senate itself. So Kelly Loeffler was appointed just in 2019, and this has been a first term for David Perdue. So neither have been lengthy or had long terms in the United States Senate. So it's not as if Georgians might view them as people who have a long-standing name value in the state.
Okay, let's talk about the money involved in these races. The 2 Democrats far outpacing their Republican rivals, more than $100 million during the past 2 months each month. Perdue reported $68 million and Loeffler about $64 million. So the Center for Responsive Politics lists these 2 congressional races as the most expensive in American history. What does that say about the significance of these races, and is it a surprise to you or other political insiders?
Well, it isn't a surprise given the fact that the United States Supreme Court has basically allowed for there to be such tremendous financial influence in American politics now and in our elections. That's a cause of concern on its own, but there's a lot that's at stake. When you think about what the Senate is able to do, what it controls, that's why we see so much money pouring into Georgia. For example, the Senate decides and provides the confirmation for federal judicial seats. We saw during the Trump administration with Donald Trump being able to nominate and get through the Senate more judges than any other president, save George Washington, right? So there's tremendous at stake there. But when you think about the Affordable Care Act, it was the Senate that went through. The cabinet appointments that Biden will want to make will need to be confirmed by the Senate. So there's a tremendous amount that's at stake when we think about our courts, when we think about our agencies, and when we think about the very cabinet that Biden wants to appoint.
And a lot of people across the country are a little bit surprised that this all hinges on Georgia. Did you see this coming? Has Georgia kind of been coming up from behind in terms of how significant it weighs in the race for Senate?
Well, Georgia has been, and I'll tell you what as well, Texas has been, but the efforts in Georgia have been longstanding, particularly in the wake of the 2016 election, and one could say even beforehand. But the level of voter suppression that took place in Georgia, with tens of thousands of mail-in ballots being tossed out and not counted, and other efforts that have been described as blatant voter suppression that affected communities of color disproportionately, that signaled that people were going to get on the ground and do some grassroots organizing, which is what we saw in the wake of this 2020 election. The fact that Georgia was able to elect Biden says a lot, because the last Democrat to win Georgia was Bill Clinton himself. And as far as the Senate is concerned, not since 2005 has there actually been a Democratic Senate seat from Georgia.
All right, Professor Bratcher Goodwin, we appreciate having you. Thank you for putting this in context for us.
Thank you for having me.